Warrior, something just came across my desk and I want to share it with you immediately. So I'm jumping on the computer because uh, our goal at the Warriors is to enlighten you, educate you, give you information to share, to think about, to help us, right? Because we work on this every day. You don't, but we need all of you to join us. But first, please make sure you subscribe to this video, the channel, like the videos, whatever you can do to help us. I'm not beyond begging because I want all of this information to get out to you and into the communities because the bottom line is protecting our kids, protecting our families. But I received this would we support at the Warriors a letter going out, and I just want to share this with you that Minneapolis now wants to legalize prostitution and they want to repeal a law from 38 years ago and now have all these legal sex venues, their words not mine, and bathhouses. When I say bathhouses, doesn't that reminds me, being in New York City, of, like 1970s horrible places, in New York, right? We heard the bathhouses, right, when we were kids. But the bottom line for all of this is any of these sex venues, these bathhouses, we know promote prostitution, right? Bring in people who are looking to buy from other people, right? Brings in the traffickers that are forcing it's supply and demand, right? So if there's no accountability, you have legalized prostitution, you as your entrepreneur, because that's what some of these traffickers, criminals, predators call themselves, right, will coerce, force children, teens, women, and that includes boys and men's everybody, men, everybody. We rarely talk about this, but yes, and it's a free for all, and this will increase human trafficking. This will increase crimes that go along with human trafficking, which are always drugs, anything underage. We also know that the cartels, businesses, we always say cartels, drugs, human trafficking. The trafficking is easier than of people than drugs, right? In all of this conversation, remember, we are talking here about people, selling of people, exploiting people. How is this allowed in the United States? Sure, we're not going to stop it. That's the reality. But today in 2026, there was such a habituation, normalization that this is all going on. So I'm always so afraid it goes in one ear, out the other. But now we have Minneapolis. And I'll let you do some homework. Remember that Mayor Fry? I'll just leave it at that. But we have such, at the Warriors, strong opposition. A repeal on bathhouses, which are basically AKA brothels. We know this from the work we do and others in this area. And it essentially paves the way for this legalized prostitution. Now, they are saying that we have to have all of this for our LGBTQIA plus community. And we must stand, this is what Minneapolis is saying, in solidarity with them. I always ask the same question. I'm here in New York City, as you know, New York State. I'm in Washington a lot. I travel the country. Every time this issue comes up, which is like the total playbook, it's always for our LGBTQIA plus community. I'm always saying, shouldn't we be doing better for our LGBTQIA plus community? Shouldn't we be giving them more opportunities, employment, and legitimate businesses? Why? Why are we just saying, they should just be in the sex trade? This is good enough for them. Seriously, think about it. This is what is being promoted. I've been in so many rooms, part of so many conversations. This is what they do because they're so, nobody likes them and nobody supports them. And so we'll just let them be free agents in the sex trade. Do you know the violence that comes along with this? It is no longer just, we're a family show here, so you use your imagination. I don't think your imagination could even understand some of the things that go on today because it's just violence. It's disgusting. The younger is the preferred. So they're camouflaging this whole thing, legalizing the prostitution and these bathhouse brothels, as this is normal for society. This will be good for our LGBTQIA plus, their words not mine, community. Um, but we know this is something more people will buy sex that normally would not even go near it. Right. Remember, when there's no penalties or accountability for anything, more people try things, right? So we're so opposed. Uh, we know the mortality rate for those involved in prostitution. Warrior population. And these numbers, these are studies, right? Well vetted studies. Remember, I always tell you that the numbers are probably higher because so much in this goes unreported, but that's what we know about 200 times greater than the general population. Burned, shot, strangled, raped. 61%. This is something I learned when I started all of this. 61% of those in prostitution have experienced traumatic brain injuries. And it's no wonder that we also have about 68% with post-traumatic stress disorder. This is the same. So, this repeal, 38 years later, right, framed as supporting a community, but prostituting people, which we know will increase the sex trade. And remember, people always give me the argument about Nevada and the brothels and this and that. We know from our studies, we know from survivors and victims we work with, a lot of those women are not there of their own free will. There's sex tourism. We never really talk too much about, I have to remember to keep doing this, is that sex buyer. If we ended the demand, we would at least put a dent in all of this, wouldn't we? If we held them really accountable instead of just, John schools or a slight slap on the wrist. Why, even I was in an office of an elected official here in New York, no names, everybody, and in his neighborhood where there was such an increase, and this was around the COVID period, I'll never get over it. And he actually said, oh, it's just taxi drivers looking for comfort. This is a father, a husband, a New Yorker. That's what he thinks about all of this. But where it is legal, I want to get back to that for a second. Let that sink in what I just told you about. These are our elected officials, everybody. We've got to do a better job with this one. And also mentoring young people to step into these roles. That is our job also, not the same old people that have this kind of outlook in life. But we know where it's legalized that it doesn't help people in the that are involved in all of this in prostitution. It doesn't make them any more safer. That's the other argument. Like, oh, it makes them safer. They won't feel threatened by the cops and all that. All of this is BS. You know it and I know it. So, we reject this false choice for Minneapolis. If you live in Minneapolis, go to house.gov, go to senate.gov, even if you don't live there, because it's going to come to your neighborhood, okay? And find out who represents you. It takes, literally, if you could spend 5 minutes, it would be such a help to find out who represents you and to write to them an email, to leave a phone message, okay? They do count numbers, but we can't allow this because the bottom line here is we know that youth are trafficked so much more, 2+ times, from an adult, right? So I think all of us can champion inclusion, if you want to put it that way, right? Dignity and equality. But legalizing bathhouses, repealing from 38 years ago. Now all of a sudden we need bathhouses, okay? Next thing, they'll probably do that in New York. We need bathhouses. But the Minneapolis community on a whole deserves better, okay? They deserve human rights. They deserve policy that will enlift their community and not tear it down any further. And do your homework. I think you know what I'm talking about. Minneapolis has been through a lot. And this is further demoralizing them and stripping them and making this free-for-all. So warriors, again, your homework, always lynswarriors.org, our resource page. But also, let's support. I leave you with the thought, and it never left my mind during all those riots and that horror. 2020, I guess it was 2020, seems like a lifetime ago. Um, I remember seeing an African American older woman crying, crying, crying on the news. I felt so bad. I can still see her face, hear her voice. There were fires erupting in Minneapolis and people with guns and all kinds of things. Okay. Not going to get into that too much. But she said, you know what? I don't have a car. I would take the bus. This is when buses were being burned, stores were being looted and burned down. And she said, part of my daily routine, I don't have transportation. These are people who can't afford Ubers and Lyfts and things like that. Again, an older woman. And she said, I would take the bus and go to the supermarket. And now they burned it down. Where will I buy my food? People destroying their own communities. Elected representatives destroying communities. It's got to stop. Like yesterday, right? So join me. Be a warrior. Our hashtag is Community Creates Change. Find out who represents you. Go to house.gov, senate.gov. Please, especially if you are in Minnesota, Minneapolis area, it takes all voices. They reached out to us in New York to add some weight and to add some awareness about all this, because people don't know this is going on. They slip these things in. Everybody's busy with their kids and homes and trying to pay bills and mortgages and rents and stuff. Put gas in their car, right? Food on the table. But they slip all this in. How dare they? We're Americans. Government works for us, or should be working for us, so join us. And remember, when you wake up each and every day, it's up to us in 2026. Don't depend on anybody else. Yeah, we talk about Washington and legislation, and we'll work on that on behalf of everybody. But in the meantime, take care of you and your own home and community, and get up each and every day. All of us can and must do something in 2026. Wake up, have the mindset, and go out and be a warrior.